Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the Metropolitan Action Commission, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about the Metropolitan Action Commission the Executive Director of the Commission, Mr. Walter Hunt. And of course, Mr. Hunt, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Haney. I'm so pleased to be back to chat with you again.
You know, I think it's a good time, Mr. Hunt, to talk about the Metropolitan Action Commission. I know that folks are familiar with it as an organization, but I hope this morning that we can give them some information relative to what you're involved in. But before we do that, let's talk about Walter Hunt. Let's have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of eventually leading you to the executive directorship of the Metropolitan Action Commission, after which we'll talk about the commission and some of the other things that you believe to be important. Let's start off there.
I'd be happy to. You know, I've had a career that has been just glorious. I started out at the as a paratrooper with the 101st Airborne Division right out of high school, and after that, of course, I came and matriculated at Tennessee State University, where I first met you, by the way. After graduating TSU, I was fortunate enough to get a job with a congressman, and I spent 10 years in Congress working on various community issues, which was a very, very learning experience, a good learning experience. And following that, I came back from Congress and I worked in the mayor's office for an opportunity for a short time. And from there on into the directorship of the Metropolitan Action Commission. But let me say that during my tenure in Congress was the eye-opening about the community needs and what category of people who really need the services. We find that in every city, in every state, there are the underemployed, the undereducated, and they need assistance. It's not that there are just people who are down and out. These are great people who just need some assistance, get pointed in the right direction. And that was the experience that I got in the period that I was working in Congress.
These are the so-called working poor.
Working poor, exactly, exactly. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, how we handle that. But after coming back from Congress, then I was able to work in the mayor's office. There and again, I had an opportunity to work in the community, to look at the community needs, to look at job, affordable housings, and employment opportunities and things of that nature. From there, I went down to the Metropolitan Action Commission and became director there. It didn't take me long to see that that same need was there in the Nashville community, and that agency deals with those unemployed, uneducated individuals directly. When I first took over as director of the Metropolitan Action Commission, we had 478 students in the Head Start program. We were able to increase that number to about 1,200. I have about 264 employees, and my role now is still trying to find out how best to help these people that need the services.
You know, I think, Mr. Hunt, in terms of the Metropolitan Action Commission itself, I think what would be quite instructive in terms of the number of people that you serve is to give us some idea about that commission. I know that Head Start and other programs that you've talked about on a number of occasions, I know that all of these are programs that came out of the 60s. But what about the commission? I mean, where do you put that in terms of its social responsibilities?
Its responsibility of that commission is to look at the needs of the community, to create programs to meet those needs. And you're right, the program started in 1964 under President Johnson's administration to take a look at how we could eradicate poverty. Poverty has been with us since the beginning of time, but we have made some great gains in trying to help people out of poverty. The agency in itself is a safety net. It's not so much a welfare agency because we don't give people stipends on a monthly basis. we look at a program that an individual may want to participate in, and we will give them that assistance at that particular time, and that person cannot use that program again for a 12-month period.
So it is a real assistance program. I mean, there's nothing permanent about the aid that you render.
There's nothing permanent about it, and then we have various programs, but an individual can come in and use each program at least once the program year. This allows us to provide the service across the community rather than giving one family or one individual all of the services. But the most amazing thing about that program or the agency, anyone can qualify for assistance of that program because it tends to pick up where an individual left off. For instance, if an individual is working like 10 years, been working 10 years, and they, for no fault of their own, break a leg, get sick, or have family problems, and they lose a portion of income, if not all the income, then they can come in and get assistance for that for that program, even if they were making $50,000 a year before they got injured. You see, so it's a real safety net to kind of shoot the gaps, to keep a family or an individual going during that time of hardship.
And so the Metropolitan Action Commission really serves a real need, but now is it supported primarily by the federal government or by the metropolitan government, or where does the majority of the monies come from that you use to operate this program?
The majority of the funds of the Metropolitan Action Commission comes from the federal government. About 95–97% of the funds are provided by the federal government. They do have a clause in there in the Head Start program where the city has to match it by 25% on the dollar. So that's what we call local dollars. And we'll get in toward that full match, hopefully under this administration. It has not happened in the past. So therefore, it's been a very limited program in terms of what we can do administratively and in terms of the operating budget. But when we get the full budget in there, I think we'll be able to provide even more services.
And so there's a possibility of you being able to increase what you're doing in terms of reaching out and touching those, the so-called working poor, now with some of the new developments. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. You see, what has happened, like I said, we have grown since 1988 by 70–75%. However, the operating budget has not kept up that pace because we've not been able to get the local dollars. I think we have a commitment under this administration to get those local dollars, so therefore, you're right, we'll be able to buy more supplies for the students, provide more services for the needy, assist more senior citizens, and expand the program overall.
You know, I think one of the most important elements in the Metropolitan Action Commission has to be Head Start. And of course, we have only a minute before our first commercial break here, Mr. Hunt, and I don't want to raise any questions dealing with that and then have to interrupt you. But really what I think we'd like to do today in dealing with Head Start is to talk about some of your experiences and some of the things that you found dealing with the education of young children. That is to, you know, you've been involved in this a long time in Head Start, and you've been involved with Head Start and et cetera. Perhaps by the end of the show, we can at least leave with some impression in reference to what we have to do in order to educate our young children and some of the things that you have seen that we need to do, or some of the things that we shouldn't do, and let's do it from that perspective. I think that with all of your experiences in Head Start and with the program and et cetera, we should be able to do that, and we'll do that when we come back during this second segment. And of course, we'll be back with you following this short commercial break. Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. The topic is the Metropolitan Action Commission, and we're talking to the Executive Director of the Metropolitan Action Commission, Mr. Walter Hunt. And of course, Mr. Hunt, before we had our first commercial break, I think we sort of promised that we would give you an opportunity during the second segment to talk about education within the frameworks of the Metropolitan Action Commission. And so let's do that. Let's have you to talk about it from whatever perspective you wish to use.
Well, I think the Head Start program is the most important program that we've ever experienced. It's the only program that I recall surviving both parties, Republicans and Democrats in Congress, and the program has really grown. We, across the state of Tennessee, have served about 1 million students since the program was created. Just across Tennessee. We've done probably about 750,000 right here in Nashville alone. But let me say, first of all, how important this program is, because about 3 years ago, there were no mandatory kindergarten laws in the state of Tennessee. So therefore, the undereducated, some young poor kids did not have an opportunity to go to preschools because they couldn't afford it. So they were sitting at home, for the most part, waiting until they become of age to enter the first grade. By that time, they was 2 years behind. They recognized this years ago, and the program, the Head Start program, although it is a national program, actually started right here in Nashville by a lady by the name of Susan Gray, and she took that concept to Sergeant Shriver in Washington, and it was developed at that point. But since that time, the program, as I said, has grown tremendously. One of the things that we find in a lot as early as the Head Start students is some of the same problems that we see in the older kids today. They have sometimes a lack of self-esteem, lack of direction, because they've not had that kind of training. So when we look at the students that we have put through the Head Start program, they tend to do better in school. They are more adept to learning.